dozen years now. Probably for about a dozen years now. I started out doing VRC, which are the metal robots, and I did that for probably like 7 or 8 years in at a middle school in Prince William County. And now I'm doing VEX IQ with Nova, and I've worked at camps since the summer camps have started, and it was only robotics camps when it first started, and that was before Nova Systemic even existed. We were doing robotics camps. So I've been doing it pretty much since it was introduced into the area. Prince William County was one of the first school systems to actually have VEX robotics. So I've been doing it ever since, pretty much its onset. So I've been doing it for quite a while, have teams go to the state championships, the world championships throughout the years. So I've been doing it for quite a while, and, you tend to build up a lot of information over time. When you first start doing it, you know very little, but as you go through it for several years, you tend to learn a lot. And hopefully I can impart some of that knowledge onto you about your notebooks today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. So before we begin, guys, I would like to just disclose, if you guys have any questions, please put it in the chat. Or if you would like to speak, go ahead and raise your hand or use one of the emojis, which can be found at the bottom of your Zoom screen where it says reactions. And if you guys put in the chat, Mrs. Coffey or Mr. Harris will answer you guys' question. So now let's begin. Before I begin, there's also a question Mrs. Coffey put in the chat. Has anyone responded to that, Mrs. Coffey? If you'd like to read the answers.
Doesn't look like anyone's responded yet.
Yeah, I don't see anything. I mean, would you like us to answer the warm-up questions, or do you just want to move on?
You guys can answer. It's fine.
All right. What would I like to learn in this session? I would like to learn how to build a better engineering notebook, so I could turn my engineering notebook in at a competition and possibly win design and move to a state competition or a world's competition. Table of contents required in a VEX engineering notebook? I don't know. We'll find out. Just wait, there's more. Best way to set up a notebook? Organization, I would say. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Harris?
Yeah, it makes it much easier when you're going through a notebook if it's well organized, and tabs are generally a good thing to put to break your notebook up into different sections. And I'm sure Ms. Benafsha is going to go over that with us.
All right. Thank you guys both for answering those questions. And thank you, Michael. I saw your message in there too. And yes, you will definitely learn lots of tips and tricks to get a good notebook out of today. So let's get started. So what is an engineering notebook? And I'm gonna go ahead and call on some students and have you guys unmute yourself. If you do not feel comfortable to talk, you guys can always write in the chat. So what is an engineering notebook? What do you think an engineering notebook is? I'm gonna ask Michael, since you answered the previous one, go ahead and answer.
I think an engineering notebook is something, a detailed kind of like a log to keep track of what you've recently done or what you've done in a long period of time, of like build designs and all sorts of robotic stuff like that.
Yes.
Or whatever you're doing. It doesn't necessarily have to be robotics. Mm-hmm. It can be anything.
Yes, that's perfect. That's exactly it. It's basically a log where you're keeping track of what you're doing with a project. Like Michael said, it can be robotics or it can be anything else. So by definition, it's exactly what Michael said, is a book in which an engineer formally documents in chronological order all of the work associated with a specific design project. So all of you guys, when you guys are building all these robots or going through the process, you guys are engineers, technically speaking. So you guys, having these little engineering notebooks is just a way for you guys to keep track of your progress and everything else. All right, so another question I have for you guys, is engineering notebook important? So do you think it's important? If so, why? And if not, why not? I'm gonna call on Salam. Salam, can you go ahead and answer that one, please?
Maybe if someone asks, oh, what have you made over the past 5 years, you could just open your notebook and show them what you made. And then other reasons, it's not really necessary, but
What makes you think, what makes it unnecessary? Can you give an example for that one too?
it's not required. You could do it or you could not do it. But if you do it, it's probably better, but you don't have to do it.
Yes, good job. That's good. Thank you, Salam. I appreciate it. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Please correct me if I said it wrong. Yeah, so that is correct. It is a way for you guys to, like Michael said and Salam said so far, it's a way for you guys to track your progress. And it's important because you can always go back to it and look at your mistakes that you've done or anything, and you can develop the parts if you need it in the future. All right, so for the VRC purposes, an engineering notebook is important because it can lead to state and world championships. It depends on the event. It's not true for every single event, but most events, if you do get an excellence award or a design award, then it can lead you guys to the state or world championships. It's also a learning curve for the team members or team members, like Salam said. You can learn from it and you can go back and see what mistakes you've made in the past and fix that. And you can also acquire skills such as project management, time management, brainstorming, communication, and teamwork. So these skills that you guys see right here are basically all work skills that you guys will be using in the future when you guys do go for a job or when you guys are trying to intern or volunteering for a company. Now, the key component. So before starting, what is one thing you guys can do to make sure your notebook is good and it's not overwhelming or overbearing? So what you guys can do is divide the writing process with the team members. So if there's a group of 2 or more people, you guys can divide the process so that one person writes a journal entry one day and then the next one does it the next time. So you guys can take turns, because I know it can be a lot of work for only one person. So if you guys divide it, it makes it easy. And also it gives less, it also gives, it shows team effort and teamwork and makes the project even more meaningful when the judges look at it. So in the Zoom chat, I want you guys to list a few requirements that you think are required for engineering notebook. And I'm gonna have Mrs. Coffey or Mr. Harris read them out loud.
So your bio, identify each team member. I would imagine that's what Michael means. So bio for each team member. The engineering book should be organized, which helps a lot. Very true. And so your bios, is that what you mean, Michael? Okay, yep, so for each team member. Bold, successful, and amazing projects, absolutely. So thank you for that.
So the bios used to be a big component, but I will tell you the bios have been taken off the rubric. So they have taken the actual bios off the rubric for the VEX notebooks, but it used to be part, 5 years ago, we would put bios of each team member and things that they, as far as things that they mainly worked on, whether it was the programming aspect or whether it was the building aspect. But the rubric now has taken the bio part off of it for the most part. It's really not there anymore. But not to say it's bad to have, because it's good for a judge when they're looking at your notebook to get to know you personally. If you do have a bio there, get to know a little bit about you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Harris, and thank you everyone who's been writing in the chat. Thank you, Dante, Janan, Michael, Salam. Yeah, I saw your messages, Dante, too, that says table of contents and having the title on a page, which is actually very helpful. If you're going to have a table of contents, then you should have a title for the page, because then you can reference it. And thank you guys all for participating so far and writing in the chat. So yes, you guys are all correct. Those are all one of the requirements. And as Mr. Harris said, the bio, it used to be, but not anymore. It has been taken off of the rubric, and they're more concerned with you guys keeping log of the robot and how you guys are building it. So the notebook requirements, it's a lot to go over, but we're gonna be as brief as possible. Notebook type, it has to be bound, which means all pages have to be intact. And what this avoids is you guys being able to edit the notebook. What I mean by that is you're not able to rip a paper off or like take a paper off and then put another one on there, so that everything is in a chronological order. Also, front cover, it has to have the team number. That's essential obviously, because if you don't have your team number, then we are not gonna, the judges are not gonna know who you are, and that's important for you guys to put team number. Errors, crossed out with single line, and I'll show you guys an example in a few seconds. And also, like Dante was saying as well, each page does have to have page number on it. It needs to be in chronological order. It needs to be dated, signed or initialed by the student author, and signed by witness student. And then you guys can also have descriptions, pictures, CAD drawings, documents, and examples of code or other material relevant to the design process glued to the notebook. So when they say glue, they mean like one of those Elmer's glue sticks. So no liquid glue, because what that does is usually like it goes over to the next page, and then everything just becomes really messy. So try to stick with glue stick, and because that way it's clean and it's consistent, it looks prettier and nice too. So bound versus non-bound, what does it mean? A bound notebook, yes, Michael, you have a question?
Oh, yes. I was just wondering if I've been using double-sided tape. Does that work as well?
Yes. Yes, you can. Yeah. Tape you guys can use as well. You just have to be very careful with how you guys use it, because it can potentially come off as messy if you do it the wrong way. So make sure you guys have one of your parent guardians or an adult look over your notebook and see that it looks nice and organized. So yes, Michael, you can use a double-sided tape.
Yeah, generally speaking, you put a small piece on each corner of the picture that you're trying to tape down.
Yeah, I guess that'd be tape conservant, but I often just outline the page with the tape.
And like I said, you can always show your parent or guardian or an adult, and ask them if this looks organized. And that's fine if you do it. Just make sure it looks organized and it's not overwhelming, that it doesn't take over the real reason of your engineering notebook. So bound notebook, what does it mean? So bound notebook is something obviously that's bound, it's together, you cannot take it off, it's not a loose piece of paper, it's either stitched together or glued together. And what is a non-bound? A non-bound would be these examples. So you can easily take it off. Now you can easily make any changes and so on and so forth. So the whole point is that you are not allowed to have this. So the only notebooks that you guys can have is a bound notebook. So as long as the papers are glued together, they're together, you guys can have it. Now I have another question for you guys. This is not on the slide, but this is a little tricky question. If you guys have bound notebooks with hole punches on them and you put it in a binder, would that still count as an engineering notebook? You guys can write in the chat or raise your hands, or you guys can unmute yourself and speak too if you guys would like that. Anyone? No? No one? Okay.
If it's still glued in, Michael says.
I'm sorry, the what?
He said, I think if it is still glued in, that it would count.
Okay.
Repeat the question, Banasha.
So the question is, one second, let me show you guys. if you guys had one of these engineering notebooks and they had hole punches, now you have two of these, right? Let's imagine you have two engineering notebooks, they're hole punched, but you put them in a binder. Would that count as an engineering notebook? And the answer is yes, it does count, because you have a bound notebook that you cannot change. So if we had team members, we had teams where there were a group of 4 people. And now with the whole COVID thing, I think we might see this more often than usual, where each team member, they had their own engineering notebook. So like a composition book, or like a notebook that was bound. They would write down what they did, what the progress, everything else, and they would put it in a binder all together. So you guys can do that, okay? Now let's go to the next. Errors. We want you guys slash it out with one single line, and you guys can see why. The judges do not want to see, squiggly lines all over your notebook. It just looks messy. Drawings and code. Always have a copy of your code on the notebook. It's essential. Make drawings. If you cannot draw, print it out. Take a picture. Do something. Just have some type of a drawing or diagram on your notebook, and label it. Tell them what part is what. As you guys can see here, they've labeled everything very clearly. You can see what is a tire, what's a motor. We want to see all of that. We want to see as much detail as possible. So what are the requirements to have an outstanding engineering notebook? Table of contents, an entry for each meeting, description of brainstorming sessions, observation and thoughts, record of tests, test results, and evaluation of specific concept and design. So what do we mean by table of contents? Because this is table of contents. These are 2 great examples. You have like, I believe it was Dante who said to have a page title. If you guys have a page title and then the page number right next to it, that'll be really helpful. Some people also go above and beyond and write the date that they had finished that page. So you guys can do that too. And then what else is required to be an outstanding notebook? So team organization, practices as they relate to the design process, project management, which is use of personal, financial, and time management, description of programming concepts, improvements, and modifications. All right, so project management samples. What do we mean by having financial examples? If you guys look at the monthly bill chart, the one that's outlined in green, you guys can see that it has different products and then the price right next to it. So for you guys, what this would be is, instead of having cable, you guys would put V5 motors and how much it cost and how many you guys needed. And at the end, you would have a total where it shows the total amount it cost you guys to build the robot. Time tracker. It's essential for the team leader or for the whole group to have time tracker, because then it gives you guys a guidance of what you guys need to do. For instance, for example, when you guys are going to school, you guys have period 1, period 2, or block 1, block 2, and you guys have a time limit on each class. It's the same ideology. So you guys want to have a tracker if it's possible, and just to make your engineering notebook stand out more. This is another great page sample example. You can see, it's very, very blurry, but you guys can see on top of the page, it shows like the objective and also like the description on the top. And then in the bottom, it has this signature of the author and then the witness signature. So there's 2 signatures, the date, and then just a brief description, and also the page number all the way at the top as well on the right side corner. So that was a lot of information, and I hope you guys took notes. Now, the big picture, why? Why all this work for a notebook? So what is the end goal? I'm gonna call on, let's see, Janan, can you answer that question? hope I said your name right, Janan. You can type it in the chat or unmute yourself and answer it if you can.
Is someone else available, Banasha?
Michael.
Okay, the end goal, in my opinion, is to make it to world competition with the notebook, because the notebook can win you the design award and other good awards that get you in a good position in the ranks.
Yes, good job. Yes, so for VRC specifically, an engineering notebook is important to have if you want to go to world championships or if you want to go to state championships at least. So what about in world, like a real life example? What is the purpose of it? What is the end goal if you were to just engineer and you have this? Yes, Michael.
Oh, to have it for future reference, to look
Yes.
back on it and all that kind of stuff.
Yes, good job. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, so it's definitely when you can look back into it and look at it. A great example would be, for example, NASA. They've built plenty of rocket ships that they fly over to the moon and back, and they're flying over to the even Mars and all these other planets. And in order for someone else to be able to, or for them to replicate their work and learn from their past mistakes, is by having an engineering notebook where they can keep track of everything. So by doing that, they're able to accomplish any of the problem areas that they've had in the back. And Salam also said to look back at your success. Yes, that's good too. Good job. Yes, it is also to look back at your success. Yes, Salam. And because if you've accomplished something and you know something works, then you're most likely to improve on it or try to do or just replicate it. So yes, good job, guys. And then we have another, oh, sorry. I don't know what's going on. Trying to figure this out. Sorry, guys. All right. So the end goal for engineering notebook, like we said, is so anyone will be able to replicate your work if needed. So the whole purpose when the judges are looking at it for VRC2 is that if I were to look at your notebook, I should be able to a certain extent, replicate the robot. We had a team who, like right before the state championships, they had a notebook. It was good. They had all the pictures. It was amazing. It was a good notebook, but it did not show a guide on how to build a robot or, and then another team won because of that. It was a very small little like tweak that they worked on right before the state championships. So they got a second engineering notebook and they wrote down literally step by step of all the parts and pieces to build the robot. And because of that, they were able to get the Excellence Award. And they also, I believe, won the championships as well. And they were able to go to the world finalist. So always keep that in mind. Any questions that you guys have, go ahead and ask away now before we go to the next part. Anyone have any questions? Has anyone been interviewed by a judge before? Salam, have you ever been interviewed by a judge before?
Hi, I volunteered last at like the state's competition and one of the nights at the museum. And I was wondering, are we going to be able to volunteer this?
Michael, you're cutting off. Yes, you will be able to volunteer if we have competitions. So we don't know what the plans are for this upcoming year, but hopefully we have competitions in person and we can go and judge people like we used to. Salam said, I went to a national one and they didn't have this notebook thing. I don't understand. They usually do. They definitely usually.
So sorry, was it a VEX competition or was it like a TSA or?
No.
No, it was not a VEX, so that may have been why.
Yeah. Yeah, usually VEX competitions, they always have notebooks, and they always have judges interviewing. And sometimes if you do not turn in your notebook, you can still get interviewed. So what do you need to do during an interview? You need to have proper greeting. Obviously, no more handshakes, but make sure you keep an eye contact with the judges. All team members participate. It shows team effort, respectful towards teammates and judges, and exclusive to team members only. So no parents, no friends, no outsiders allowed. It's only the team members. You guys worked hard. We want to hear your opinion and how you guys were able to accomplish all the things you guys did. And I'm going to have Mrs. Coffee, I believe she put it in the chat as well already, the link to the rubric. I'm also going to share it with you guys in a few seconds. Awards. So what are the awards that you can get off of your engineering notebook? Design award, which is literally only for the engineering notebook people who submit it. There's also the excellence award, which is engineering notebook, skills rank, and the ranking score, all taken into consideration. So the design award, it follows engineering notebook rubric. And there's 3 levels to it. There's emerging, there's a proficient, and expert. And I'm gonna go over it with you guys in a second. Let's see.
I've put, yeah, the link is in the chat for it too.
Oh, sweet, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Harris. So I'm not gonna read every single thing. Obviously it's a lot. You guys can read on your own times, but I'm gonna go over briefly the expert, proficient, and emerging. So when the judges, when they get a notebook, the first thing they look at is if the notebook is bound, we're gonna go over it. If the notebook is not bound, we don't even look at it. So make sure it's extremely important that your notebook is bound, and I'm gonna really push this. Your notebook has to be bound. It has to be together. So in order for the judges to look at it. And then an emerging is a team that's, they've never done this before. They might be new. So they might not have all of their requirements on their notebook. And, obviously it's not perfect, but they are getting there. Proficient is usually team members who have a better idea of what to put in the engineering notebook, and they follow the rubric to the best of their ability. But, obviously they're not as experienced, so they might have some mistakes here and there. Experts are usually our teams who have done this for a while, and they know exactly what to put in the notebook. They've had plenty of experience, or they've done plenty of Google researching, and they know exactly what to put. So, and they qualify for all of the criteria for the rubric. Now the design award. So the design awards, like I said, is the foundation for the excellence award. And so what is it? What is a design award? So the design award is presented to a team that demonstrates an organized and professional approach to the design process, project and time management, and team organization. The team's engineering notebook and judges interview will demonstrate the team's ability to produce a quality robot with minimal adult assistance. And then the key criteria obviously is you have to check in your notebook, you have to be organized and demonstrate time management, talent, and resources. And also during the interview, you guys have to, work as a team and answer everyone has to answer. Let's go back here. I guess that was it. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. So we're gonna take a quick, we're gonna do a quick, I'm sorry, I cannot talk. We're gonna do a quick game now of Kahoot, just to see how you guys, how much you guys have learned so far and what you guys were able to comprehend through this meeting. And go ahead and go to the link. I'll be sharing my screen in a second.
You'll find out in a second, Michael. It's going to give you a website to go to and a code to put in.
Yeah, and it auto-corrected for some reason when I put Kahoot the first time. So it's kahoot.it is where you're going to want to go, and then she'll give you a pin.
Is that everyone?
For the one answer, Banasha,
Yeah,
are you reading them? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
I'm not reading them now.
Can you do that, please?
I don't think you'll be able to hear me because of
I'll
the.
read. Can I read them? Here, I'll read them. All right. Go for it. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Whoops. I don't think Mrs. Coffee is supposed to win. All right, non-team members can participate during the interview. True or false? All right, good job. False. That is the correct answer, right, Banasha? Okay, good. Oh, Mr. Harris, that's because I waited 10 seconds to let you in. All right. Oh, Danny K's coming up behind me. Michael, yep. All right, next. How many team members should sign each document page? And 3,
2.
2. Apparently, I can't read your Kahoot. I'm colorblind. So yes, 2. 2 team members.
Oh, Mr. Harris, come on.
Are we going to talk after this?
I'm on fire.
You are. Yep. That's fine. Don't let us win. We don't care. All right. Danny K's still coming up behind me. What we got? Will this be considered a bound notebook based off of VRC engineering notebook requirements? This is a multi-select. And the correct answer is no, because pages can be teared out easily and replaced by we don't know who, anybody, right? So what do we have? What are the results?
The results, only 2 people answered.
Oh, that's because I ran out of time. Of course. Good job, Mr. Harris. Programming code is not required to be on the notebook. True or false? Is not required to be on the notebook. True or false? False. Programming code is not required to be in the notebook. You would think it would be. All right. Oh, I didn't see who was coming up behind me. All right. Is this a bound notebook? True or false? This is a bound notebook. True or false?
Who answered false?
I don't know. All right. Danny K still coming up behind us. Michael and Dante. Did we lose a player? We lost a player. All right.
Oh,
All right. What do we got? What's next?
all right. We got a poll.
Oh, multi-select. Which of these is important for a successful interview? Making eye contact, being respectful, letting the team leader take over, answering questions to the best of your ability.
Josh, is there a prize for the winner?
Yeah.
All right. So it's all of the above, correct?
No.
No.
What's the wrong answer?
The wrong answer is letting team leader take over. So it's a team effort. Everyone has to talk.
Thank you. I know what the answers are. I'm just making you guys at once. All right, next. Quiz. Multi-select. Which of these is a requirement for an excellence award? This is a good one, Vanessa. Skill score, engineering notebook, all team.
Good job, guys. That's pretty good. Only one person got it wrong, which is good. All right. Oh, good job.
Oh, Dante's moving up.
Nice.
Look at that. Michael not far behind. They're creeping up on Dante. True or false? Only ink should be used to write on the engineering notebook. True or false? Only ink should be used to write on the engineering notebook. Remember it for next time is what your app is telling me. I answered incorrectly. All right. So where are we at on the leaderboard?
Wow.
Michael, look at that jump.
Wow.
All right. Woohoo! Okay. Quiz. Multi-select. What are the requirements for design award? The skills ranking, the engineering notebook, all team members must be present, or rank score. What are the requirements for design award? Engineering notebook, that's a hard one.
Yeah, it's a
I
confusing.
think. It's a hard one for the judges. VRC engineering notebook interview question.
Michael.
Michael. And who we have? Good job, Mr. Harris. Good job, Michael. Good job, Dante. Good job, Steve. Good job, everybody. Good job, Vanessa.
Good job, everyone. Good job. All right, let's stop sharing. Let's go. All right. Sloan, what happened, man? We were waiting for you, and then you just
I feel bullied.
gone. I was 2 points away from those.
Got the answers. He got tired of us.
Good job, guys. Good job, everyone. Thank you guys, everyone, for participating for today, and I hope you guys learned something. And if you guys have any other questions, right now is the time to ask.
Yeah, do you guys have any questions specific? Now in the chat, I put the, and I'll share it with you real quick. I put the link, I'm going to share my screen with you, to the rubric, and it's right here. Okay, so you can see the rubric, and this is the latest one from VEX. Now I think they've changed some of it as far as a digital engineering notebook they have included for this year because teams can't meet in person, I think. So this summer they changed it so digital engineering notebook or a printed copy of one, and you get extra points. And you'll see that the rubrics are point valued, and then they add up the points at the end to see who wins this design award. Okay, so each thing has point values to them. It's kind of like when you do a project at school and your teacher gives you a rubric. It's the same way. So I did put in the chat a link to this engineering notebook rubric that you can look at. Okay. Now I can share with you what I have my teams do this year, since we are meeting digitally or on Zoom. We're not meeting in person. So I'm going to share with you real quick what I have given them as far as engineering notebook goes. So I gave this to them and they fill it out each time. So we have a goal, then we've got some issues or some constraints. What are some problems to reaching this goal each time we meet? And here's where they'll document, whether it's a drawing, whether it's writing, whatever it might be. There's some documentation, and then they reflect on how it went and what what are they thinking about doing next time or continuing. And then it's dated and who writes it, and then somebody signs and witnesses it. Okay, so that's what I give to my team, a layout that looks like this. Actually, I could probably make it so it's smaller. No, I can't. Actually, I can view. So I can zoom out a little bit. Let's go to 50%. So you can see this is the page. Okay, so this is what I give my teams to do, because they're having to do it electronically. So it's not a perfect world right now as far as trying to keep an engineering notebook. So we're doing the best we can for now. But this is what my teams are doing, and it's a VEX IQ team, not a VRC team. Okay, I just thought I'd show you those things.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I hope that's helpful for all of you guys. Honestly, if you guys have any questions, please, like I said, write in the chat. And thank you guys, everyone, for participating and for coming today.